So WWE finally had their Clash of Champions pay-per-view, the first Raw exclusive pay-per-view event now in the history books. And compared it to SmackDown, then SmackDown won Backlash. Because even though there were some good matchups, there was also some. However, the main event and the first main event of the evening, Roman Reigns and Rusev and Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins, like, it's hard to really debate regarding if SmackDown won or not. This is just my opinion, but it's going to be debated for the next couple of days, most likely. But the matches I predicted that would steal the show: TJ Perkins versus Brian Kendrick, Chris Jericho versus Sami Zayn, Charlotte versus Sasha Banks and Bayley, and Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. I would also go with Roman Reigns versus Rusev, but I'll get to those in a minute. Um, Nia Jax faces Alicia Fox. It lasted 5 minutes. There's not really much to go on. Like, Alicia Fox got some more offensive maneuvers involved in this match, and it was possibly, arguably, Nia Jax's best match today on the main roster. Though, compared to what she did in NXT, yeah, that blows out of the park. Especially her matches against Asuka and Bayley, specifically. And Nia Jax once more look like that predator that is going to kill you. And someone on Twitter said, hey, how about we give her the Goldberg push? Like, we push her like Goldberg did in WCW. Okay, as much as that idea seems fascinating, two reasons I don't think this is going to happen is, one, they need to develop her character. They hardly did that with Goldberg, and look how that turned out long term after the streak ended. And secondly, Vince hates copying a WCW formula, but they'll say it's theirs by twisting and contorting it a bit. But they don't want to copy WCW to an extent because people will catch on to saying, yeah, that was Goldberg. Though NXT might have done that with Asuka, and really might have done that with Asuka since she's still undefeated since her main debut, but they haven't really put most focus on that. They talk about it in some commentary matches on pay-per-view, but they don't really talk about it much. Like, that's not the focus. But Nia Jax faced Alicia Fox, and Nia Jax won. Now, that's the end of the kickoff match, and I was also expecting the Enzo Amore and Big Cass to fight the Shining Stars because they've been getting some build-up. And I will say this, it was horrible. Like, it's not New Day versus the Club horrible, but it was still pretty bad. Like, the Shining Stars went from stereotypical Puerto Ricans to being stereotypical Puerto Rican real-time share salesmen. Why not just make them what they should be booked? Since they've been given stupid gimmicks on and on and on and on, they should become disgruntled workers. Instead of happy-go-lucky, praise Puerto Rico, and let's sell timeshare to them, and whatnot. But no, we gotta do this. It becomes a thing. Instead, make Primo and Epico disgruntled workers who are sick and tired of being treated like, well, that, and express their anger over the fact that they have a company that treats them like stereotypes and goes ahead and does this and that. So, yeah. Like, basically make them be what the New Day was originally going to be, a series group based on disgruntledness regarding how they don't want to be treated like cartoon characters. And then they dropped that because of the whole Alberto Del Rio firing that happened a few years back. So, yeah, you can blame the guy that made a racist comment on Alberto Del Rio. P.S. It's his fault. So now we get to the New Day versus the Club, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, and yeah, I was not really caring about this match whatsoever. Like, it's like they were only given like less than 7 minutes, so you didn't really get much action out of it. Like they try to compress 15-minute tag team quality into a 7-minute bout, and like that is not gonna work. I don't think that's ever gonna work. Like, it could work sometimes. Like, it could range from B minus, but like they need to be given the time to showcase their talents in order to make a great match. That and a big build up, and considering what we got from the New Day and Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, that was pathetic. So, and the commentators were are once again highlighting all the past success of Japan, basically saying, yeah, you should watch New Japan Pro Wrestling. They were much better than what we're doing to them. Did I mention Luke Gallows was fetus here? Oh god, we're horrible people, aren't we? So they were like, okay, we screwed up everything with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Okay, now let's make them badasses. Even though we destroyed their image to beyond repair at this point. So Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, they look like a dominant force in the match, and then it ends right when it could really start to get good for me. With Xavier Woods hitting, was it Luke Gallows? Carl Anderson? I don't recall because they look relatively the same except one's taller than the other. So I'm just going to go with Luke Gallows. In the head with the trombone, also known as Francesca II or Francesca II. And once again, the New Day retain, which surprised me. Like, all the word was going around that, oh, they're losing the match. Oh, they're losing the match. And they were at 399 days, and they were going to get their 400th day tomorrow night on Raw, so they're going to celebrate that expectedly. Now, the New Day for me, after the Wyatt family just went back to being stale, like, I was not for sure with the whole Wyatt family stuff, it would start to build dissension within. Like, they're barely doing well as a tag team, and they're barely retaining their titles. They didn't do that. Instead, the New Day just treats it like, oh, well, the Wyatt family happened, let's move on. There was no long-term impact on them, and I thought, like, this would be the day they finally lose the belt. But we also like that merchandise sales, okay? We spent a significant amount, so we're going to get our money's worth, even to the point that we're going to make the New Day stale. So, yeah, it's kind of not really good going on with the New Day for me. Like, I'm losing interest in them. Like, I'm glad the audience likes them. Like, they can like them for all they will care, but, they just started getting stale for me, and the Wyatt family kind of made them interesting again. And then they went back to being stale, so, and no longer long-term impact on them regarding their feud with the Wyatt family, so, yeah. So, New Day and Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, it was right before it could actually start getting good, it just ends. Now we get to the Cruiserweight match, and this was the match I was most worried about, because a report came out a few days before the pay-per-view that WWE, after only 1 week, unless you count the 10 weeks of Cruiserweight Classic, within the first week of the introduction of the Cruiserweights on the main roster, WWE reportedly was planning to most likely water it down, stop the kicks to a frequent extent, and also lower the high spots ratio. And that made me worry, like, oh god. Okay, 1, no one's been injured yet. 2, no one's been injured in the Cruiserweight Classic. 3, this was stupid. 4, I get you're trying to concern yourself with the wrestler's health, but you're a company that doesn't seem to really care at the same time, considering what you did with Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, so I highly doubt for the safety of the wrestlers. Especially with the whole curb stomp incident, like you banned the curb stomp because you didn't like the visual of Lesnar looking like an idiot prowling around injured, and also because you said that you don't want to look bad in the concussion lawsuits. Wait, we're supposed to care about the wrestlers' health? Fuck that. We don't care about the wrestlers' health. Like, we can just make money off of them. We can even do past success with the network. We don't care. So long as they're putting their bodies on the line and making us money, we could care less about the health risks. Hell, we'll just go ahead and find replacements. Like, that's how it works, right? We could just replace that guy, right? And look how Roman Reigns is turning out right now regarding the John Cena push he was getting. So, TJ Perkins and Brian Kendrick, they had a great match, but that nagging feeling at the back of my head was saying, like, this was a great match, but it could have been an awesome match if they were allowed to do more of the kicks and the high spots and not watered it down. Okay, I'm not talking about, let's not talk about the kicks. Like, I get the kicks are becoming overexposed, like they have done, like, let's see, Tyler Breeze, let's see, who else? Oh, wait, Dolph Ziggler, Kevin Owens, Shawn Michaels have done it. Let's see, those three. Shawn Michaels is no longer wrestling. To an extent, Seth Rollins. Alberto Del Rio did it. Like, close to 6 people doing the super kick, to the point it's become increasingly common. So I could get them limiting the kicks, but the high spots, the things that make the cruiserweights stand out. To quote Matt Hardy on this, delete. So, yeah, I've been watching some TNA lately regarding Matt Hardy being the broken character that he is, so that kind of brought me back in, so, yeah. But moving on, TJ Perkins and Brian Kendrick fought for the Cruiserweight title, and they had, like I said, a great match, but that nagging feeling in the back of my head said it could have been an awesome match if they were allowed to do more high spots. But what we got was great, and Brian Kendrick was doing well as a heel, but the audience is split regarding him. Like, one side wants him to be the champion, the other side doesn't. Well, actually, that's not really true. One side doesn't care. One side wants Brian Kendrick to win, one side wants TJ Perkins to win, and then it's reversed. So basically, the audience doesn't care who wins overall, so long as they get a good match. And I love the fact that they're making the format look different when it comes to the cruiserweights. Like, on Raw, for the women's division, they need to get their own identity and their own format style, and instead of just copying out the male superstars. And the cruiserweights are getting a different format. Their rings are purple. They're told, you want to shake hands and whatnot, and the heel won't do it if that's the case. And they would change the arena lights to purple. Like, it just felt like I was rewatching the Cruiserweight Classic to an extent, but it was on pay-per-view. And that gives the cruiserweights more exposure and makes them say, hey, this is actually kind of different. Like, let's take a look at this. So, TJ Perkins retained the title after beating Brian Kendrick, and then Brian Kendrick solidified his status as a heel by headbutting TJ Perkins in the head. Well, it kind of looked like it was in the head, like they kept saying it was a headbutt, but it was clearly shown that he just grazed the side of his head. And then, like, per the script, oh, quick, fall over. Just make it look like that. We could just change the angle. We'll just put in the proper lighting. And that's exactly what they did. So, now we get to one of the matches that was close to being the match that stole the show, Cesaro versus Sheamus. In the 7th match, you could also make the argument it's their 9th match, because all they've been doing for the last 9 weeks basically fight each other 2 times before the best of 7 series match, and now 7 times after, when this announcement was made, after SummerSlam. So, yeah, they have fought each other for like 8 weeks. Like, they had 2 matches in 1 week, one at a house show in somewhere in Europe. I kind of forgot. I think it was London, the UK. But Cesaro versus Sheamus, this was I felt like they were staggering a bit here, because I thought, okay, couldn't you add a stipulation to this match? Like, I know you put in the championship opportunity, but could you add like different matches? Like, make this a hardcore match, or what? Wait, hardcore is dangerous. That word's violent. That will prompt kids to look up what hardcore is and do things. So let's just make it Extreme Rules, or No Holds Bar, or Street Fight, and then kids will be okay with that. So Cesaro versus Sheamus is a standard match. So, like, they absolutely killed it in this match. Like, this was possibly their best match together throughout the entire rest of 7 series and throughout the 2 weeks prior. And it ended in no contest. your best match of the night so far, and you ended it like that. So we're going to get an 8th match out of this. Well, you can make the argument it's a 10th match, but we're not going to count the other 2. So we're going to expect possibly another match between them soon, probably on Raw. And we don't know who's going to win this time. Like, word was going around that, oh, Cesaro's winning. And then betting odds were saying, oh, Sheamus is winning. So I didn't know who was winning that match. And I was surprised that they went with no contest. Like, I was thinking, like, for this kind of match, they should have made it no holds barred. Though, then they said medical reasoning because they kind of beat each other up. And Cesaro surprisingly shocked me by doing the 619. And I was also surprised that they referenced Rey Mysterio. Like, they brought him up. Like, you would think, since Rey Mysterio is no longer in the company, they would try to, shh, he never existed. Not until he comes back. Then we'll talk about him again. Okay? Like, he's a disgrace to us. He took his ball and went somewhere else. Whatnot. Okay, let's do that. Let's just think Rey Mysterio dropped the ball with us, even though he was out of contract and we forced him to stay for a bit. Shut up. We do not want to hear your logic. So Cesaro did a 619, which surprised me, and Sheamus, and like they start throwing the finishes at each other every once in a while. Like one broke kick, then a second broke kick, then a neutralizer, then a clothesline to the barricade, into the crowd, and that's what stopped the match. And then started a kind of suicide dive, but head first, and it looked like he got a concussion, probably. Like, there's a chance that happened, and they had to stop the match. But Cesaro got back up, so I don't know for certain. And when Sheamus was being pushed away by the doctors because fans were chanting, let them fight, let them fight, let them fight, which is basically, hey, stop copying NXT's crowd. You're not passionate enough for me nowadays. Like the NXT crowd, with only 300 people, they scream louder than you. But it was kind of surprised, kind of enjoying to see the casual fan base now starting to get more hardcore. So that was kind of enlightening and refreshing. But when Sheamus was being pushed away, forced into the back by the doctors, I was like, dude, if this was the old days, you would beat the crap out of them just to run to Cesaro. And then we would get security guys to come out and push you away. Like, that's what should have happened in the old days, but this ain't the old days. Instead, the wrestlers do not want to attack somebody because storyline terms they'll get fined, even though wrestlers most likely got fined storyline, but they didn't really focus on that that much, like, because they just did not care, like, so long as they got what they wanted. So, yeah, now the heels are obeying the rules and whatnot with the faces, so yeah, it's just really, really confusing for me. So, expect another match between them, and word was also going around that this was not going to be for the WWE World Title. I mean, not the World Title, the Universal Championship, which would have been awesome to see Cesaro or Sheamus take on Kevin Owens. But then rumors now were saying that, oh, it's going to be for the U.S. title, and we don't really care. So, yeah, so we could expect Cesaro or Sheamus to fight Roman Reigns later. Spoilers. Now we get to Chris Jericho versus Sami Zayn, the most pointless match ever. Yeah, Chris Jericho beat Sami Zayn. I was rooting for Sami Zayn on that because Chris Jericho. What's more, like, I can't really complain much because Chris Jericho needed the victory here to get some momentum. But at the same time, I'm thinking, like, is this AJ Styles versus Chris Jericho WrestleMania all over again? Where you have that nagging feeling like Chris Jericho should have lost. I mean, like, he'll put over, like, you also remember that this is the same guy that put over Fandango at WrestleMania. But he can't put over AJ Styles. Or Sami Zayn in this case. Yeah, I call BS on that. Like because I saw Chris Jericho versus Fandango. I was at that event years back, and I'm like, oh god, he lost to a guy that you would expect from Dancing with Stars, and ironic because Chris Jericho was on that show, but at least he was a wrestler, not had a dancing gimmick. Though if this was made in modern nowadays WWE, you would be expecting them to say Chris Jericho was on Dancing with Stars. Okay, let's give him a dancing gimmick. But no, let's make Fandango a dancer, even though we could just make him something that fans could actually get enjoying out of instead of just doing the Fandangoing thing and then they don't push him at all, despite the crowd's reactions to him. So now we get to the match that did steal the show: Charlotte versus Sasha Banks versus Bayley, and Charlotte retained her title, and this was possibly their best match together. Well, okay, that's hard to say, but like this was Bayley's best match with the rest. Well, that's also not true. At least it's on the main roster, but compared to NXT, that's a debatable question. I would have to say her two matches with Sasha Banks and her Four Horsewomen Fatal 4-Way match they did were her best matches. So this match, it was awesome, but it felt like, well, compared to what we got from WrestleMania with Sasha Banks versus Charlotte versus Becky Lynch, I kind of like that one better. Like, I like this match a lot, but I like the one at WrestleMania better, probably because it was the inaugural Women's Championship match, and also, last but not least, it just felt, well, the changing tide of the women's evolution movement. Whereas Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Bayley was the moment that you realized, yeah, this women's evolution is going to be staying for a long time. Whereas before, it was the cementing of the evolution of the women's division. So, Charlotte, I was also surprised Dana Brooke did not really get involved much. Like, she helped the Charlotte a bit at times, but other than that, nothing else happened. And I was expecting Sasha Banks to win because she came back from injury. But considering that she got injured and Vince McMahon rumoredly said that he believes she's injury prone, I would not be surprised if that was the case. And Bayley's not ready to be Raw's Women's Champion yet. Like, they still want to build up Sasha Banks and Bayley together so they can do their big WrestleMania match that was rumored for next year. So I was glad that Dana Brooke barely got involved. Like, she would help out occasionally, but since it was the no DQ rule, I was expecting, like, oh, it's going to be 2-on-1 versus 1. So I was expecting that to happen. Luckily, that did not happen. Like, she would help a bit, but ultimately not really get involved physically. So, yeah, that was refreshing. And along with that, like, Charlotte did a moonsault on both Bayley and Sasha. Reminds me of the moonsault she did to Becky Lynch and Sasha at WrestleMania this year at the time of this video. So that was great to see. And yeah, this match was ultimately great. Awesome. Nothing could top it. Like, I had two matches on the top of my head that could have topped it, but that would have been hard to do. And surprisingly, once more, the Women's Championship overthrew the main event. Kevin Dunn must be pissed considering these are NXT women, also known as Triple H girls or gals. So that was refreshing, and to see the women's division rise more. And rumor has it that Sasha Banks and Bayley might might headline a pay-per-view in the near future. Probably after WrestleMania, maybe? Can't wait for that. That's going to be awesome. To see women now starting to headline the pay-per-view shows. But first they have to main event Raw first, and then move to pay-per-view. You can also count SmackDown, but like, Raw has more of the star power, so people are going to most likely tune into that. Like, women have closed the show with angles, but they never closed the show with matches, with the exception of Lita and Trish Stratus, which was a decade ago. over a decade ago, I believe. 2004 at best. So this is Sorry. So this will be refreshing to see women start to main event shows more and more instead of just closing the show out with some big angle like a contract signing or a declaration that a match is going to happen. So to see that all come full circle, like once they do that, then they start main eventing pay-per-views, and then hopefully they'll main event WrestleMania, which will be awesome. So now we get to what could have been a great match, however turned sluggish. Roman Reigns versus Rusev. Yeah, this match was sluggish. Like, it was the worst match of the night, and I can't believe I said that. Now people are gonna bitch about saying, I told you Roman Reigns sucks. He can't carry Rusev. Rusev can't carry him. They can't do this. They can't do that. You see, I told you Roman Reigns was horrible. He can't make a great match. And like, oh my god. Like, that will negate the work that Roman Reigns did in that first encounter before SummerSlam. Like, I kept thinking, like, this should have been, like, the Raw match, and the Raw match that we did get from them prior to SummerSlam should have been this match. Should have been Clash of Champions' match. And that did not happen. So there was word going around prior to the show that it would end in DQ most likely, because they want to have Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins team up begrudgingly against Rusev and Kevin Owens, but luckily they didn't do that. And now Roman Reigns, and now the fans can't say that Roman Reigns can't be championship material because he hasn't held a minor championship yet. Now he holds a minor championship, and expect a reign to last for a while, for probably, but yeah, but people are still going to find some way to bitch and moan about this, and I'll be there to once again point out that, oh dear God. Like, I'm not saying, leave Rowan alone! I'm not going to say that. You can not like him, but the way you're treating him like he's the worst thing to happen since... What's the worst thing to happen in wrestling? No, not that one. Not that one. I'm talking about in terms of worst wrestler to come into wrestling. I would say Eva Marie, but let's just go with Eva Marie right now. Like, but I wouldn't like make her try thing. Like, that's the level I think fans should not have went with regarding Eva Marie. But Roman Reigns, like, he seems more mad regarding it. Like, he doesn't seem to care. Well, to an extent, like, after Payback, he kind of lashed out on the audience reportedly, which I honestly wouldn't blame him for, because I don't know how I would react in that situation, knowing that you're working your ass off and fans just say, you suck, you can't wrestle, you can't do that, you can't do this. You're not that guy, you're not AJ Styles, you're not John Cena, you're not at their level. You can never be at their level because you suck. So, yeah, I probably would have reacted the same way Roman Reigns did at Payback. Just, I want them to turn him heel. Like, that's the only way this is going to work. Like, the fans chanting CM Punk. I knew that was coming. So, yeah, I was expecting that to happen. But I want Roman Reigns to turn heel. Like, that's the only thing that can save him at this point. Like, that he's now in limbo with the mid-card scene. He has the U.S. Championship. They could do another John Cena versus Roman Reigns again. Do a Roman Reigns versus John Cena for the U.S. title and try to build up the U.S. title this time. Or doing a U.S. Open Challenge series with Roman Reigns leading at the helm, because they think doing great matches over and over will get him over, but sadly that won't work, because even if Roman Reigns cured the world of all of its diseases, they'll still complain that he can't wrestle. Even if he was a scientist trained by the highest paid doctors and whatnot ever. Yeah, I'm at that point where I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore, so I'll just wrap this up. Roman Reigns and Rusev, like, they started to look like they were going to do a good match, and then it just ended afterwards. Lana got thrown out, and yeah, I'm expecting hopefully Rusev and Roman Reigns don't have their feud over with yet. Like, this should end in a Hell in a Cell match, especially for the U.S. title, because, well, considering how the last two matches, the two bouts they had, like the first one was on Raw, the second one was at SummerSlam, where it was just a straight up brawl. Like, they should go ahead and end it in a Hell in a Cell match to be incredibly destructive. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on Owens versus Rusev. Now we get to the finale of Clash of Champions. Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship. Groan, moan, complain. I can do that all day regarding the belt. But, yeah. Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. Like, Kevin Owens, like, I was worried for Kevin Owens. Like, are they going to keep doing BS excuses? Like, okay, the Triple H one I'll buy for now. But if they let Kevin Owens start winning matches more legitimately, then people probably won't be as mad like they did with the Seth Rollins build-up they did regarding his world title run. Oh god, I made a video about that. So I'm still hoping booking doesn't crap on Kevin Owens like they did with Seth Rollins during that year. So Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, like, Kevin Owens played the arrogant heel who will do anything to be entertaining as all possible. Like, he would mock the referee saying, "Is he hurt? Is he hurt?" And then the whole DX suck it thing. And then let's see, the architect, Rubble, whatnot, and whatnot, who's the man, whatnot. Like, everything Kevin Owens does is just awesome. Like, even with bad booking right now he's getting regarding how he's not getting clean finishes and even got a questionable loss on Raw against Roman Reigns, even though the margin was close. So, I'm still mad about that. But, like, yeah, Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, like, they did the best they could, but then WWE overbooking had to come in with the involvement of Chris Jericho, Stephanie McMahon, and a referee. Like, I was expecting Triple H to get involved and screw Seth Rollins, so my expectations weren't high on that. Like, I know Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins can do a great match together, like they did in Ring of Honor and did in the independent scene, but I knew for a fact that in WWE's world, we need to not do that. Like, stop being awesome to an extent. So Kevin Owens retains his Universal Championship, albeit a screwjob way. Like, Stephanie McMahon might have screwed Seth Rollins. We won't know till later. And, well, despite... And Kevin Owens has Chris Jericho involved in this, and and I was expecting Sami Zayn to come out and attack Chris Jericho, and then Kevin Owens would attack Sami Zayn, then Seth Rollins would attack Kevin Owens, then the referee would still be out cold, and then we would be having a fatal four-way match at Hell in a Cell pay-per-view for the Universal Championship, which would have been great. But no, we didn't do that. If we were going to overbook the show, I would have done that. Build up a fatal four-way match for the Universal Championship. Like, that's how I would have done it if I had no choice but to overbook it because management told me to. So, yeah. Clash of Champions, like, to me, Backlash was superior because they didn't really have a bad match in any of their matches. Even the pre-show did good. But Clash of Champions. Yeah, like, with the exception of the Cruiserweight match, Cesaro versus Sheamus, and the women's triple threat match, ultimately, yeah, it didn't do well. So those are my thoughts on Clash of Champions. This was Nia. Oh, wait, I just remembered something. Sorry. I just realized something. Word was going around that originally that Clash of Champions was going to be a dual-branded pay-per-view event featuring all of the champions of Raw and SmackDown fighting one another. So do you realize what this means? Okay, we would have gotten, if the calculations were all correct, we would have gotten Rusev versus The Miz. Let's see, the New Day versus Heath Slater and Rhino. Let's see. Okay, along with that, we get Roman Reigns. We get Rusev versus The Miz. We get the New Day versus Heath Slater and Rhino. We would have gotten. Well, I don't know about the Cruiserweight belt. We would have gotten Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles in a World Championship champion versus champion bout, which would have been epic. And a series of other matches that no one will care about because they want to see the big epic main event. And Becky Lynch versus Charlotte. So that would have been awesome. Like, everything would have been awesome. But I get why they didn't want to do that. They have the big 4 pay-per-views to do that, and plus the brand extension is still early. So I would say wait till next year to do something like that. But something tells me they might do it as Survivor Series. But I believe they should wait next year for that. Well, everyone, this was Nia Reality Entertainment for real this time. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate and stay tuned for more.